On the basis of you looking at the global economic wealth, was the recent budget announcement on Malaysian wealth itself for year 2024 a catalyst for the industry? As fund managers are always looking for assets to generate better returns, like you say, you are looking for a 7% compounded growth rate for a unit trust. So it's not an easy task, but how does fund manager do this? And also looking into the budget announcements.
Okay, let's start with the budget. Number one, with regards to the budget, whether this has been a catalyst for the industry, let me just start by saying that it's still work in progress. As you know, there are still developments coming out from the budget. Last year we have foreign source income tax, and there's still a debate about that, whether it's going to continue, not continue. There's lobby groups, and this year we see capital gain tax in play that have yet to develop, meaning there's been talk about that being implemented, but it's not fully out yet. So it's very hard to say whether it is going to be good or bad for the industry. But my take on budget is very simple. Whatever it is, personally, I believe a government annual budget is a tool for nation building. I strongly believe about that. There are two ways for the government to grow the economy: fiscal policy through budget and monetary policy through interest rates. Okay, and this time it's budget, therefore it's fiscal policy. It is a tool to develop the nation. Now, usually it's all about tax and incentive, about spending and about government revenue, right? Revenue comes from tax, spending, then they go into all these sectors and whatnot. To me, it's a simple thing. It's between left pocket and right pocket. You take from one, you give to the other. Okay, but overall, it's the same body. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so long that you take from one and you give the other to develop the nation, eventually the nation will grow. And if you have a long-term view on the nation, that the nation is growing, then it should be okay. You will be able to get from an investment. If you look at long-term view, it should be okay. The only thing is that with nowadays, with globalization and whatnot, your concern or your question may be, is our growth better than our neighbors or somewhere else's vis-a-vis the risk that you're willing to take? One can argue is that, okay, we're growing at 4-5% economy over the next 4-5 years. Is that strong enough for you to invest in? Or do you want to go somewhere with a higher growth vis-a-vis a higher risk? Okay, so that comes back to your own personal preference. If you invest globally, then you have to take currency risk, exposure risk, and many other risks as well. But it's all about your own personal choices on that front.
So, to hear you answering, Malaysia definitely have opportunities, meaning that because the government is investing into the infrastructure, the people,
exactly,
and also businesses, there are definitely opportunities in Malaysia, and also we can benchmark ourselves when it comes to investment to other countries.
Correct.
Thank you for sharing. So, whether it's a choice of lifestyle or economic circumstances, the news have been reminding us that people need to pay attention to their financial well-being of the future, like what you mentioned earlier, your retirement and also sandwich generation, which is very worrisome. What are factors that contribute to the development of funds which Maybank Asset Management have introduced?
Okay, that's a good one. Our formula is very simple, really. When we launch funds, or before we even launch funds, we do have a lot of engagements with our distributors who are in touch with the end clients or to the end clients directly. For example, given the mass market segment, those who are underserved, we talk directly to them. Why are they not investing? What is the challenge, the problem, and whatnot? If not, we talk to the distributors asking, what are the product gap that is there in the market right now, and what are the investors' demand? What do they want from now? So one is talking to these distributors and saying what do they want. Two, we have also a series of engagement with our fund partners, if you want to call it that way. We have fund managers, in-house fund managers, but we also have fund partners, global players, who will give us ideas what's happening in the United States, what's happening in Europe or in Japan, and where we can pick their brain and pick ideas and say, okay, there's a trend that's happening over there, maybe that's going to come here as well. So that's where we look at ideas, we look at shift in demand and supply globally, money flow and whatnot. Okay, so that too, combine the two, then we look at what is a challenge then between what the investor wants and what the investor need. Now, this is a bit of a tricky bit. If you just focus on what investor want, and as a responsible fund manager, everybody wants return, but then do they know the sort of return and the risk they're taking? So selling only cyclical stocks or cyclical funds every single time, thematic, to me is wrong. Because, for example, you go into technology and you have to tell investor, oh, technology is over, the cycle is over, you need to get out. You can't just continue selling technology when it's no longer there. So we look not just into cyclical stocks, but also into, there's a customer one, but what do they need? Now, classically, this is where the challenge comes in. A need, typical need funds would be the likes of SRI or ESG or retirement solution.
Which is the topic, the hot topic now.
Today, if you look at it, most people, after a year or 2 years of boom on the ESG and SRI fund, the demand for SRI fund now has come a bit slower. Because people start to realize that, wait a second, I want return. I don't care about sustainability. But sustainability is important. It is something that they need to be aware of because it's for the next generation and the generation after that. Okay, so as a responsible fund manager, we still go out and do ESG funds, SRI funds, but maybe we don't label it as such. We don't go out and call ourselves, this is an ESG fund, because from a investor's perspective, they would just look at it, another one of the ESG fund. How much better can that be? So what we do is that internally we have an ESG process. We do the screening in-house, and our funds are ESG compliant, but we don't declare it as ESG at the label. All right, so it's just a labeling to me, but it's what is important in here. So what we do is ESG, but we may not necessarily label it ESG. So this is a striking balance between investor wants and what investor need. Same goes with retirement solution. Okay, if you ask them, do you think you need a fund that focuses on retirement solution? All of them will say, I won't say all of them, most of them will say, I have my EPF already. Why do I need another one to save money in the one? So, but we do know that from the statistics we gather from EPF, retirement savings at EPF alone today is not enough.
And I want to add also, when you approach an investor, they say that they've already invested in ASNB as well, which is also another pool of funds and savings.
Correct.
So based on my experience, they will think that, oh, I have this is sufficient already. Like what you say, you should have ASNB, then your EPF, then your retirement
so
fund and all that.
I had the same notion originally. 10 years ago, I had the same idea. Maybe I have my investment unit trust, ASNB, and my EPF saving, that's good enough. Until I realized that sandwich generation. Oops. Whatever I think is enough is no longer enough because I have to take care of my parent as well. And cost of healthcare is not getting any cheaper.
Definitely not.
Let alone, and sorry to say this, maybe I have insurance, I have medical insurance, but my parents do not. And to now go and take an insurance for that,
Too costly.
So that's what I say, while you think it is enough, but then you look again, we are living longer. My parent is 85 years old.
Wow.
Okay. 20 years ago, did I plan to think that I would be taking? No, right? Back then, maybe you live up to 70. And he's still strong. Okay, so it's like, okay, I have to rethink about my own retirement solution or retirement planning because there will be healthcare costs for my parent, which I did not plan for or account for. Okay, so my advice is when it comes to retirement planning, whatever you think is enough may not be enough. Have more. Have more than more. Have double than more if you can possibly. You have your EPF, you have your PRS. You can have more. The more the merrier. The more the better. So what's wrong with having more money for your retirement?
Definitely.
You can only enjoy more, right?
Yes, when you work hard, then you really need to
Exactly.
also plan for your, your golden years.
Exactly, because nowadays you live longer, and at 60 years old, you are probably as healthy as you are when you are 40. You can afford. You have more money. You can afford to retire. You can travel. You can do what you want to do. So having more money for retirement is not such a bad thing after all. So save now for that. If you think you have enough, I'm telling you, it's not enough. Have more.
So, hearing from you earlier, I would safely say that for the audience, that you would need to have 80% in value.
Value of growth, yes, but core.
20% core and 20% on tactical, like
tactical.
what you mentioned. Your
Correct.
values of the ESG or sustainability or any other sectors that you may favor personally. So. Yep. Thank you so much, Ahmed Muzni, for joining us today. It has been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure is mine, Joyce. 100% mine.
We hope that our viewers find this session very helpful. For more coffee talk, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to FIMM's YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of our future contents. Be sure to also follow us on our social media platforms to stay informed. If you have any topics that you would like to know more about, please let us know in the comment section. See you in the next episode of Coffee Talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joyce.